All right, here he is.
These situations that we're talking about have been happening for decades and longer. I feel like you are unique in that you are making a difference for a lot of the families in a lot of these communities. What are you doing differently as a lawyer that other attorneys were unable to do before you, or that your peers are unable to do, that you keep getting success in these situations?
You know, it's interesting, Touré, because we've been on this journey together, and I applaud you for always covering our people, giving us a voice and speaking truth to power. I mean, back when we were fighting for Trayvon Martin,
Hell yeah.
Which 10 years ago, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years, man. And so, I get it, as I talked about in the Netflix documentary they did on me, Civil. You know, God has given me influence for a reason, and shame on me if I don't use that influence to try to help those who have no influence, who have no voice. And so I make that my objective. And so if whatever comes with that, whether it's success and notoriety or money or what have you, that's fine. But the objective, first and foremost, is to be an unapologetic defender of Black life, Black liberty, and Black humanity, and be able to articulate to the greater community, the greater society, that we matter. And what I think, if anything, I try to be very honest. I don't think the press nor corporations or anybody care anything about Black people or people in general. What they care about is profits and ratings and stock quarterly reports. And so what I try to do as much as I can is play the game of chess out and not make it just simply about my clients getting some sense of justice or accountability, but also make it about their expediency. When I sue corporations, I'm trying to sue to affect that stock price to where it's not just a Black person issue. Now, it's that CEO's survival for that boy looking at him saying, hold on, why didn't you resolve this with Crump and those Black people? Now you hurting our bottom line. So now it's about his job and his livelihood. We try to do the same thing with police and police chiefs and police departments. We try to build the argument in the court of public opinion that this is unsustainable and unacceptable, and you all need to do something about this. And so, like Thurgood Marshall did, and a few others, you understand, you fighting in the court of law, in the court of public opinion, and most people can't win in the court of public opinion because they can't make society care about Black life. And so I grapple with it, how we do it, Touré. I'm calling in all kind of favors. I'm with Trayvon, you trying to show that our children are just like your children, Breonna Taylor, those things, because if we don't do it, if we don't figure it out, then they don't care about Black people getting killed.
So fighting in the court of public opinion is critical to you having power when you go into a private room to negotiate.
It really is. And it influences every aspect of it. I talk to members of the Congressional Black Caucus. We talk to the White House regularly, and so forth, because what I do understand too, Touré, it's a game of chess, not checkers. They gonna come to us just like Lorraine Hansberry said, when it's election time, and they gonna come promise us everything in the world. And what I want to remind them is what Janet Jackson said: what have you done for us lately? And so when I call them and they don't respond to us, well, I got to pray and work on myself. But I don't forget, because Touré, then when they want to use George Floyd or they want to use Breonna Taylor or something, I say, no. But when we called y'all didn't respond. So now y'all calling us to try to help you deliver another miraculous black voter turnout.
So I noticed your work in the court of public opinion first with Trayvon Martin. That was the first time that I felt like there was a black person was killed, and there was quickly a wide array of humanizing pictures that made him look like, a really nice kid. The family and the representatives defined how he was going to be seen. Here's a picture of him skiing. Here's a picture of him on horseback. Here's a picture of him in his football uniform. Here's a picture of him. And we didn't even realize his parents were separated until like 3 or 4 weeks into the whole thing. So they look like this great unit, and they are a great unit, even though they're separated. But we didn't need to know that detail on day one. And the presentation of him galvanized people to be like, yo, he's a good boy. This should not have happened. Whereas so many other cases, something happened, the initial imagery does not supporting him, and the story goes in a different direction.
Yeah, it's about trying to frame the issue. So many times the police and unsympathetic and sometimes discriminatory society will try to define our children as being unworthy of America's consideration. Mm-hmm. And that's what they wanted to do with Trayvon on day one, when they let his killer go home and sleep in his bed at night, even though Trayvon only had a bag of Skittles and a can of iced tea. And they said, we just gonna sweep it under the rug as if it did not matter. And one of the things I think about Trayvon, there's so many emotions and feelings come back. The one thing that really exploded in my heart, and I think in Black people's hearts all across America, Touré, we have, unregrettably, we have become accustomed to white police killing our children unjustly. Mm-hmm. But then with Trayvon and the Stand Your Ground law, it was any Tom, Dick, or Harry white boy or white man could kill our children and say they were in fear of their life and get away with it. And that was what I think was just a convergence of issues that propelled Trayvon Martin to say, this Black kid, life mattered. He was a good kid. He was a person who mother and father were trying to expose him, taking him to Broadway, taking him to ski. I mean, he was just like your kids. And so just like you love your children, we love our children. And you look at how white media still tried to portray him, even though the HBCUs and the LeBron Jameses of the world, and even President Barack Obama always said, no, if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. He would be like Trayvon. But they tried to say Trayvon was a thug. Mm-hmm. He was a criminal. Mm-hmm. He was a menace to society. And Trayvon didn't kill nobody. And you just oppose that, how they treated 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse, who actually killed people. They made him be an angel. And so what that told me is, if we don't get out front and define our young people who they kill unjustly, like Breonna Taylor, then they would define it for us. And that is a craft to do. You really have to know how to push back on the media when they say, oh, well, Breonna dated the drug dealer 3 years ago.
Let's talk about the Breonna Taylor case, because that's ongoing. That is deeply emotional for a lot of Black people and allies. What's going on there? What do most people not realize about what's really happening in that situation?
I hope, Touré, that most people now understand that the police officers never should have been at Breonna Taylor's house in the first place, that they lied to a judge on a sworn probable cause affidavit to entice the judge to sign a no-knock warrant in violation of Breonna Taylor's Fourth Amendment constitutional rights against an unlawful search and seizure. It was unnecessary, it was unjustified, it was unconstitutional for them to be able to bust in our house at 1:00 in the morning and literally execute her. It was a hard thing. We didn't really show the pictures of her body, the bullets in her body, but it was akin to Emmett Till when you saw the bullet holes right above her breasts and in her stomach.
Fred Hampton.
I'm sorry?
Make you think about Fred Hampton?
Yeah. They execute, her body was mutilated with 8 bullets. All on a lie. And so they were going to get away with it too.
Why were they lying to go? Why did they want to go to that house? Were they mistaken? What were they trying to do?
Breonna had dated a guy 3 years ago. And the police, for whatever reason, were trying to get this low-level drug dealer. And there are a lot of theories out there, don't know if they're true, that they were shaking down, Black drug dealers for money. Don't know. But we know they were trying to get him. Breonna was one of 5 people that associated with him where his money may be. And, Breonna, no criminal history. Like any young sister, you meet people, you fall for them, you find out that, hey, it ain't gonna work between us, and you try to move on with your life. She was dating Kenny, and Kenny was her boyfriend, and this sister was working 2 jobs. She was 2.5 semesters away from getting her nursing degree from college. She was doing everything right, but they, I guess, said she's insignificant to our objective. If we want to bust in her house, we can. And so they lied. As we're seeing play out now with all these no-knock warrants going into Black people's homes in the wee hours of the morning, which is the most dangerous time to execute a no-knock warrant. And a no-knock warrant in and of itself, Touré, is dangerous. Even if you're doing it in the daytime. Can you imagine sitting in your house and somebody bust in all of a sudden and you, completely caught off guard? If you are saying I'm an American citizen, I got just as much right to the Second Amendment as anybody else, since the NRA and all these conservatives keep saying the Second Amendment is akin to the Second Commandment, then you got to assume that people are going to have guns to protect themselves from home invasions and burglaries. And that's exactly what Kenny was doing. Breonna's boyfriend, he was licensed to carry a gun. He was trying to protect his queen, protect their castle at 1 a.m. in the morning. And when people came through, he fired back thinking it was criminals. And when he did that, it was over 87 bullets, they said, fired. And both of them were supposed to be dead.